Sir, how is your role as corporate affairs in JSPL?
Well, you understand that the steel industry and the mining industry are, even the power business that we are into, is highly regulated.
Yes.
So, in regulations, you have to keep moving with the government. A lot of policy advocacy work has to be done because lots been changing, you see, because the new MMDR Act came in and then the Electricity Act 2003 is still settling down. And then obviously there are issues on steel, there are issues of coming up on FTCs and all that stuff. So we work with the government. Our role is to really work with the government and ideate with them because they understand it in a very different perspective. We come from a company and a sector perspective, but they look at it from a broader perspective, which is the people perspective in India. So it's an interesting work. You do a lot of research. You look at what's happening internationally. You look at what's happening nationally, the best practices. What are some of the things which we believe with research can benefit the bureaucrats who already have very good minds, and we try to contribute. So we keep moving. It's interesting in short, yeah.
Yeah, so how is it you've seen JSPL moving from one phase to another phase of growth? Dip 2 years back, and you feel now the graph is going up of JSPL. So how do you see it?
See, I've been with JSPL for more than 8 years now, so I have seen both the phases,
Okay.
and I would not call the phase of a dip.
Okay.
I would say that this was a phase where we did consolidation because I personally believe that everything that happens in a company or in life happens for a reason.
Okay.
And we understand the reason a little later because at that point of time you have a lot of questions.
Okay.
But having said that, on the more practical side, we were the only company where the chairman had a vision to set up plants for which the coal blocks have been allocated. And I think we paid a little bit of a stiff price for that because, for example, we set up about our first coal gasification plant in Angul, and we wanted to do the DRI steel making route there. And when the block got cancelled, we were suddenly found ourselves, midst of nowhere because the money had gone there. We were thinking that we'll capitalize and pay off the debts. Debt had risen because obviously, we were putting up these plants near the coal plant, coal mines. We had invested in the mines. We suddenly got cancelled in all across in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand where the plants were running. And the alternate mechanism took some time as the issues, coal issues have still not been settled. But of course, what we took our lessons is that on the other side, positive side, we realized that when you have too much, you become a little more lax now. So we consolidated. We worked on a theory of constraints, and we did consolidate in every stream. And I think we have become a much more efficient and productive company. And now the second phase that's kicking in would be having the learnings from the past and plus the more efficient and productive organization. So I see a very good phase for JSPL now coming up.
So it's a cautious move in the coming years.
No,
Like in a year
see,
or so.
we will be cautious. See, now the see we one has to be cautious. It's not that we were not cautious earlier, but yes, at that point of time we were expanding because that's what the government wanted, and the chairman had the vision that listen that how we can contribute to the overall people employment. So that was a vision that we were expanding so fast. And now, of course, yes, with the after coal block cancellation, we put up the largest blast furnace in Angul, all from internal accruals, which was a feat, so which meant a lot of metal, a lot of learnings for us. And we now believe that yes, we will be going a little more cautiously. Future investments and capex will be done cautiously, much more cautiously. Of course, it's not that we were not cautious. I'll not admit that we were not cautious. We were cautious. So we look at it from more perspective because if the policy paradigms change, any bit of strategic planning is something which comes to a question. So now we'll factor that risk also of policy changes. If what happens, what is plan B, plan C. So we'll do that now.
I think in the railway, I think orders have you got again, I believe.
We will. See, it's
I
just a
think you're
matter
the
of
only one.
time. We know it's not being the only one. See, the one has to really
In the
see.
private side,
Yes,
actually.
that you are right.
Yeah.
See, the one has to really see the plants, the way it's been built, and the way it is being done. And that's what I say that we always take pride in saying that everyone is welcome to the plant to see how it functions, how clean they are, how green they are, how we take care of the overall socio-economic benefits. And the steel plant was waiting. It took some time because to roll on, because obviously the government has to be cautious. It's a core sector, and the core sector by putting in anything you have to be cautious. So, but we were very confident that once we back the first offer, repeat orders will come, as has been happening in all the other products with all other companies. So government will not be left behind. Second is that the pace at which we work and the way the people entrepreneurial ability that we have and the agility that we have in the company is unmatched. So we will believe that I think future orders will keep on coming our way, and we'll meet them.
So what do you think about the the mines, what the re-auctions that are going to come? Is there a sure that something you're planning into that?
See, the auctions is what the next topic is, and I'm going to talk about it. And I have mixed views.
Okay.
And so it's running pretty close as long as auctions are concerned. The coal auctions also have been delayed, mine auctions, and that's also making the money stick because there have been some relevant provisions in the coal mines where it said that if you had put up infrastructure, the money will come to you, but the money has not come, and now the government said it comes to you only after the auctions. So more working capital is stuck for companies which are already starving for funds. So working capital is required. But we will be participating in the auctions for sure because we have no alternative B but to participate. But the iron ore auctions is also troubling us now because it's thus nearing 2020 where the non-captive mines go upstream, and the government dispensation towards captive mines has to change. And I'm just going to talk about it now, right now, that how in a country like China, 70% mines are with the captive producers, while in India it's just the opposite, 70% with the merchant miners. And I have nothing against merchant miners. I'm just saying that first meet the captive because all these infrastructure industries, core industries which we call, should always look at the socio-economic impact, not only the commercial impact. If you only look at economics of maximizing revenue, you're not going to get there because it's not how it's going to happen. You need to give employment, that's a key concern. We need to expand our own capacities to become the core producer in steel. We need to increase the GDP contribution. So it has to be a balance between short term and long term. I believe that's very important. And but iron ore mine auctions are troubling because around 66% of the capacity in Odisha is going to be knocked off. And that's where the major plants are, what we have, the pellet plant and the Angul steel plant. So we're very concerned how it's going to happen. And we are looking forward that the government comes with a speedy resolution. And this being an election year, it troubles even further.
I think today morning the mines
Joint Secretary Mr. Singh spoke about it, I think. But see,
confirmed that.
but nothing is on the ground as of now because while we understand the government always has good intentions. Obviously, the bureaucrats are the best minds in the industry. We don't dispute that. But then a lot of things get marred by the executive. So election and the election code of conduct, we are concerned. If it happens, we would welcome that.
I'd like to take further the question, sir. What do you think about the royalties? What put on the iron ore, or what the government Ministry of Mines has done? There is some kind of glitches with the state government. It's understood that state government is adding more royalties to gain. What is your comment?
See, there are two things to it. One is that the royalty per se, and royalty per se in an era of auctions. So there are two different things, and then we'll talk about the state government. So royalty in India is the highest in the world, and it's not highest by a small margin. It's almost double than the second best, right? On that, we brought in DMF, NMET, NMET for the exploration side, DMF for district mineral, developing the local areas. All that is fine, right? Because obviously, it's always thought that the mining industry makes phenomenal profits, and you need to really get out of them. That's true. The merchant miners do make phenomenal profits, and we need to get something out of them. But that does not mean that you increase the royalty. Why? Because that cost is passed on to the end consumer, which is the steel industry. So ultimately, you are impacting and making another industry which is dependent on that ore, without giving them the first right of captive mines, dependent on the merchant miners. So nothing changes for them, but the government gets this money. That's exactly the point I stressed in my speech. That what's more important is to look at the value addition, right? So this time I was where the royalty committees are happening because the central government has powers to really revise the royalty. And my suggestion to them has always been that listen, the one is that when you're already taking a bid premium, you're auctioning, what is the need for royalties? Why do you need royalties? You can keep on taking DMF NMET, which is fair. Second, royalty should also be a set-off as is GST, because you say there's a common tax regime. So whether royalty is also tax or not, that also is being debated in the Supreme Court. It's not being over. The judgment is still pending. So whether we do that or not, you give a set-off because the companies get some breather. People in the captive industry get some breather out of it. And the second, I said that royalty should be graded. So if you put up a value-added plant of this capacity or do something, royalty comes down. If this capacity, this comes down. This capacity, this comes down. So that if you are encouraging industrialization and employing more people and doing more social benefits, your cost of raw material should be the lowest. Because that will encourage the exponential growth of industries. People would like to use the beneficiation plants, people would like to pelletization plants, people would like to put sponge iron plants, and why not steel plants? Or maybe so ancillary industries will grow because we will be able to give them steel cheaper. So it's a cascade mechanism that operates in industry. So the thinking should be there. But the current thinking, to my to my own personal view, has been very limited thinking of maximizing revenue. It being the state subject, state wants funds because the central government says, listen, you generate your own funds. This is not something which is viable in core sectors, which is something which is viable in countries where we have a lot of people who are living in the very hinterland areas. This is not viable. That's one. Second is the implementation of the royalty itself is in the challenge. The royalty is a central subject. It's decided and collected by the state. The state decides its own work. It keeps on getting challenged in the courts. It goes from you win in the High Court or you lose in the High Court. It goes to the Supreme Court. Then Ministry of Mines which is in. It goes on for years and years. So that's the state of Orissa, where the matter is sub judice. So I'm not commenting on the matter because it's sub judice. It's not proper for me to comment on that matter. But let me tell you that what the matter is. What the state government of Orissa believes is that when you blast, what you get is run of mines. And run of mines is natural, uncrushed, unprocessed material in its natural forms. It also has fines. They call it as natural fines. They say that the miners crush and screen this ROM to produce lumps and fines. So the lumps you are crushing, and they call that ROM is only lump. So you are crushing the lump, bigger lump to make a smaller lump called calibrated lump ore. And the fines that are generated are because of you, because you wanted the lumps. So they charge royalty on the fines at the rate of lumps. Because they are crushing it. So that's the entire dispute on differential royalty, which happens only in Orissa. It happens only in Orissa. It doesn't happen anywhere else. But taking cue from that, everybody wants more money, more revenue. So others also start to adopt it. Now what happens? Now let's see what happens. What happens is that Orissa itself has a pellet capacity of around 66 million tons. It has a beneficiation capacity of about 80 million tons. Beneficiation is completely closed now. Why? Because low grade iron ore fines also attract the same royalty of lumps. So how does one produce? But beneficiation is gone. It is in, as of now, 125 million tons of this low grade fines are lying in various mines across the country, and we're not looking at it.
It's lying big.
So these are the basic issues where instead of court interventions and court discussions, it has to be policy interventions at the government level for the benefit of the socio-economic. Why I add, because in countries like us, the social impact is as important as the economic impact.
The legal part should be limited.
Why get into legalities? Because legalities takes their own time, and nobody is sitting and judging there because they are interpreting laws. But they are not here to interpret and solve the disputes between, what happens between minor states. So you are loading them judicially with a lot of cases. So that's something which is avoidable. That's what the entire royalty issue is. So my suggestions have been that you actually reduce royalty in a graded fashion. You charge highest royalty, and then somebody puts value addition of some plant, reduce, some more size, reduce, some more size, it's reduce. And based on that, you come to a plant where you have bigger plants and give more employment, the lowest royalty. That's my view.
So recently, I think JSPL was facing some issues regarding lifting of iron ores from Shard.
The case in the Odisha High Court, and it's the Odisha High Court preferred, the Odisha government preferred SLP, which is listing in the Supreme Court. I think it should be disposed of because Sarda's case also, I believe, has been heard by the Supreme Court. I think some things. So the major contention of the state is that transportation is a part of mining activity, which we don't agree. That's all. So let's see. Sub judice as of now. No, I can't comment much on it. Yeah.
What do you now? Let's come back to logistical part. It's on a repeated way. I think logistics is a great issue. Whether it's the railways or the roads, a lot of logistical problems or the duties regarding related to that. How do you see it? When can or the industry and the government sit together, come to a solution? Whether it's going to be an extended another 10 years? It will be go on the same things.
No, I don't think so because I think the central government, the Ministry of Steel and the Ministry of Mines, they are working closely on that. They understand the problem. Even the railways understands the problems very well. And I believe that
But there are race issues.
see those will remain because obviously there will be no expansions which have happened. There are no mineral corridors as we have in other countries. So we all understand that. I think the solutions today lies in my personal view, and we have been giving our suggestions, is to have slurry pipelines, but slurry not by individual companies. It can be a joint slurry where all the companies contribute, and it can, because like getting permissions, getting environmental clearances, getting forest clearances, railway clearances is time consuming. I think waterways is a big area where we can really think of.
Internal waterways.
Waterways, which I think Orissa it's happening, but it's slowed down due to some reasons. So waterways, and I think if we can have dedicated road transport corridors, that can help. Because railway takes time to expand. It's not going to happen in easily. You know, they are. I'm sure the government is trying, but they are fund constraints, they are execution constraints. See, in a country of our size, which is a democratic country, the working itself is rewarding but challenging at the same time. So we have to understand that.
So, how do you see the next few years for JSP?
I told you like the JSPL as a company, we have learnt our lessons. We've become very.
What do you see? Are you planning? Because
Okay, you're talking about.
M&As are coming in.
Uh,
There are.
See, we are open. We are open to both organic and inorganic growth. I think there are a lot of opportunities available within India, and I think the priorities, as the chairman has put up in a lot of other interviews, is to first pay back the loan, because we are absolutely first very clear that the banks have to be paid off from internal accruals, and once paid off, if there are exciting opportunities where we are excited about it, obviously we are open. We want to expand. We are also thinking of expanding the existing capacity. So there are plans, and I don't see that personally, that it's not that I work for the company, but JSPL will not see any further days where you will see even a small blip. It is from here it's going up only.
Or what do you think about this duties like MIP? Like it's on the way. The ministry is planning nothing on this thing. Protectionist policies are necessary for industry. What is your comment?
I would say that unless and until the core issues are addressed, as I said, okay, and that because that requires a lot of policy changes, the internal industry has to be protected. Because unless and until you don't promote that, then of course the social
How
factor.
far this protection is needed?
I think it's required up to the time we change.
Don't you think that it'll
It's okay. I think
resolve many things under it?
I don't think so, because the idea is that a lot of overcapacities in other countries, which
But
were
as such, we are having the FTA problems that the imports are coming in either way around. Imports are
so
like
we need to safeguard the and that's I think which is permitted. You need to safeguard the internal industry, because as I said that our issues is not that we produce the best quality of steels, right? There's no comparison. So
But a lot of dumping is going on.
that's what I'm saying, that dumping has to stop, and I think.
on FTA.
So I understand the FTA things. I understand. I think the government is also examining, and I'm sure that this decision will be a very thought-of decision. And MIP, which came in about 3 years back, has revived the industry. Otherwise, the steel industry is anyway, actually walking on a very tough wicket. And you saw that all the steel players collapsed, apart from two who did not have mines. So as I said, that the auction routes have to first change towards, if at all an auction, it has to be given to captive industry, it has to be given to value addition industry, and then to let the others compete, even at the cost of getting a low premium. That's a far-sightedness in my personal view, because the social development is important. Industry cannot be allowed to collapse. Otherwise, today, whether it's right or wrong, we talk about unemployment. Why? Because there's so much capacity which we are not using.
So another coming months, what do you see? The industry is on the cooling mode, or it's because a lot of that's slow down. I feel.
I don't think so. Industry is going to cool. Steel industry has been very growing very rapidly, and it's going consistently.
In what kind of investments? What you see?
In not investments, I'm talking about the production capacity. About 7 to 8% growth is.
Okay, production is there. Demand is on the slower mode.
Demand is cyclical. See, demand is cyclical, but the demand gets slower because of various issues. As of now, the government policies are very good, because they have said that for domestic projects, whether it's Sagar Mala or whatever the projects are there, you have to go to choose domestic steel first. So I think that is going to give up demand, because see, economic activity is always a cascade down. So the government intentions are clear. Elections does slow down certain things for some time.
6 months to 7 months.
It does slow down, but I don't think so. The demand is getting impacted because the government has been pretty focused. If you see the overall development of the highways and the infrastructure and the seriousness with the ministries are working, I think everybody's concerned. I think I should give a lot of credit to the current government of having been able to execute in, as I said, in a democratic setup, in a large country where there are different ideas. So they've done a good job, and I don't think the steel slows
So
down.
how do you see the global scenario for this?
For
Both
what?
Steel and iron ore.
See,
Because
the-
lot of iron ore, for example, is Vale is a disruption. Don't you do you feel that it has been overly?
See, Vale had one of the largest capacity mine where there's been a
Fine,
disruption,
I
so the
don't-
cost will go up, the prices will go up.
Don't you think it's overly done? Is it so?
No, I don't think so. There are reasons for being
panicky kind
concerned.
of a situation, don't you think?
See, the markets, whatever said and done, react to emotional news as well, and Indian market specifically. So whatever is the financial and the technical parameters, markets do react to these emotions, and but they settle down. So it's nice. See, it's nice to be in a challenging
Does it
time.
Go a little bit panicky.
Yes, it's
when you
okay.
come down?
If you panic, it's not panic. I would say that it's like it's a.
It was like
It sets you thinking.
No, it's not. I think for 1 month when the few days back, Valley's issue came, all were like little bit market was shaken up.
But
What
that
is
does.
kind of-
Indian financial markets are all
No, I
with
think
emotion.
almost,
It does.
there
It
is
does
a lot of
because
shaking up, too much of shaking
see,
up
you need
happened.
to see who are the
I think
indices.
Jurassic Valley is the only control
No,
was kind of a thing.
You know, it's not, but they have been a major player, and people think that similar issues may come up in other mines because if such a big player can get disrupted, then there can be similar issues. So you get afraid. So it gives you a time to really look back. It gives you a time, and little bit of excitement also helps you really look at and think differently. I think innovation steps in at these times. So I always remain excited on these times. But yes, prices we can still see firming up a little bit. So steel prices may also firm up.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
this interview. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.